Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Commute English Learning Pro.
So glad to be here with you all.
Let's start today by picturing a very specific but highly universal moment.
Okay, paint the picture.
Right, so your alarm is blaring. It's that incredibly loud, obnoxious radar sound on your phone.
Oh, the worst sound in the world.
It really is. You peel your eyes open, and before you're even fully conscious, before you even remember what day of the week it is, your hand just reaches out and grabs your phone.
Automatic muscle memory.
Exactly. And for the next 30 minutes, you're just lying there in bed, aggressively scrolling through notifications.
Just swiping away.
Yeah. And in that moment, you aren't really a person yet, you know? You're functioning entirely on autopilot. You're basically a robot executing a daily program.
Oh, absolutely. We've all been that robot.
So today we are doing a deep dive into the language of life's transitions. We're talking about navigating the unfamiliar.
Which is really the ultimate goal of learning any language.
Exactly. We're looking at a ton of ground today. Everything from micro transitions, like breaking out of that robotic morning routine we just talked about, to decoding the strange environment of an airport.
Always a stressful place.
Definitely. And then we'll get into the massive life shifts, like signing your first apartment lease, and finally, learning how to assert your true voice in a professional setting.
It's all about real life.
Right. This deep dive is crafted just for you, our listener, to give you the authentic, daily American English you need to actually live and operate out there in the real world.
Because, we often get so bogged down in memorizing textbook grammar rules that we completely forget the primary function of language.
Which is connection, right?
Exactly, connection. It's the tool we use to process our environment, articulate our struggles, and, share our victories.
Yeah.
Having the right vocabulary doesn't just help you pass a test. It gives you the power to actively participate in your own life rather than just watching it happen.
I love that. Actively participating. So let's dismantle this robot feeling first, starting with the very beginning of your day.
Let's do it.
Because there's this fascinating disconnect that happens when we spend our first waking 30 minutes scrolling in bed. Your brain is suddenly operating at light speed, right?
Oh, yeah.
You're processing work emails, global news, social media, but your physical body is completely stagnant under the blankets.
Right, and it creates a severe cognitive mismatch.
A cognitive mismatch.
Yeah, you are essentially flooding your nervous system with cortisol and stress before your feet have even touched the floor.
That sounds terrible when you put it like that.
It is. The brain is attempting to solve complex problems while the body is basically in a state of sleep paralysis.
Oh, wow.
And that mismatch is what launches you into what researchers often call the speedy routine.
The speedy routine, which is just, it's pure chaos.
Total chaos.
You're rushing to the bathroom, you're brushing your teeth with, unnecessary aggression.
Yeah, just scrub it away.
And you're literally eating a piece of dry toast while simultaneously hopping on one foot trying to put your shoes on.
We've all been there. It's mindless survival mode.
It really is. But what really stands out in the sources today is that breaking this cycle doesn't require, quitting your job and moving to a cabin in the woods.
Thankfully.
Right. It's about implementing very small, intentional changes to secure big victory.
Absolutely. The goal is simply introducing friction to the autopilot program.
Friction, okay.
Yeah, let's look at the concept of the park lunch. So a vast majority of professionals eat their lunch sitting right at their desks.
Surrounded by the constant rhythmic click, click, click of keyboards.
Yes. And staring at the exact same monitor they've been staring at since 8 in the morning.
Oh, it's the worst.
Precisely. From a neurological standpoint, if your physical environment does not change, your brain literally does not register that a break has occurred.
Wait, really? It just thinks you're still working.
Pretty much. So taking your sandwich and physically walking to a park, or even just sitting outside the building, it forces a context shift.
The context shift.
Right. It helps you stay present.
Yeah.
And in this context, being present means your cognitive resources are focused on the immediate sensory details of your environment.
Like the temperature outside or the taste of the food.
Exactly. Rather than projecting anxiety onto that spreadsheet you have to finish in 3 hours.
Right, right. And that context shift is likely our best defense against the dreaded 3 p.m. afternoon slump.
Oh, the afternoon slump. It's brutal.
It's that specific window where your circadian rhythm naturally dips, your energy completely crashes, and you feel this compelling urge to either drink 5 shots of espresso or literally crawl under your desk and go to sleep.
Which I'm sure many people have wanted to do.
I definitely have.
But the instinct is always to reach for caffeine, right?
Right.
But caffeine simply masks the fatigue. It doesn't actually solve the biological issue.
So what does?
A much more effective strategy is physical movement. Just standing up and stretching your arms and legs increases blood flow and oxygen to the brain.
Ah.
Yeah, and that naturally counteracts the slump.
That makes a lot of sense. But I feel like the most critical part of managing this entire daily cycle is what happens at the very end of it.
Definitely.
Like, how do you transition from work mode back to human mode? The behavioral studies we looked at highlight something called the finish ritual.
The finish ritual. It's an intentional psychological boundary.
Okay, break that down for us.
So it's a specific, repeated action that signals to your nervous system that the workday is officially terminated.
Right.
And one of the most highly recommended methods is remarkably simple. It's just changing out of your work clothes into comfortable clothes the absolute second you walk through your front door.
I love the mechanics of that. It really reminds me of how a computer operates.
Oh, how so?
Well, imagine your brain is a web browser, and throughout the workday, you have opened like 50 different tabs.
Oh, easily 50.
You've got an email tab, a project deadline tab, a stress tab. Changing your clothes is the physical equivalent of hitting the X and closing all those open tabs so the processor can finally cool down and rest.
That is a perfect analogy.
Right. And once those tabs are closed, the suggestion is to spend 15 minutes doing something called growing instead of just, collapsing onto the couch for passive TV watching.
Right, because growing implies active engagement. Passive TV watching is just an extension of the robot routine.
Yeah, you're just a zombie at that point.
Exactly. You are receiving input without doing any work, and you're often not even retaining what you are watching.
So what counts as growing?
Growing could be anything that requires a small amount of presence. It could be cooking fresh pasta and taking a second to actually smell the garlic hitting the oil.
Oh, that sounds nice.
Or it could be listening to an English deep dive. It's just an active participation.
I do have to push back on the timeline here, though. Let's be realistic for a second.
Okay, yeah.
After a grueling 9-hour workday, is 15 minutes of reading or listening really going to move the needle? I mean, it sounds like a drop in the bucket. How does 15 minutes change someone's whole day?
It's a fair question. It sounds mathematically insignificant, I know, but psychologically it is profound.
Really?
Yeah. The power of those 15 minutes isn't in the duration, it is in the autonomy.
Autonomy.
When you actively choose to dedicate time to your own enrichment, you are reclaiming your agency from the automated routine.
Oh, I see.
You are sending a signal to yourself that your life belongs to you, not just to your employer. It stops the cycle of simply surviving Monday through Friday while waiting for the weekend to actually live.
Wow. You're proving to yourself that Tuesday evenings still belong to you.
Exactly.
That's a powerful shift in perspective. Now, if you truly want to shatter your daily routine, the ultimate way to do that is to pack up and travel.
Oh, absolutely.
So let's shift our focus to navigating a completely different environment, a space built entirely on transitions to the airport.
Airports are fascinating liminal spaces.
Liminal spaces.
Yeah, they are places of pure transition where you are technically nowhere, just between destinations.
That's so true. You're just kind of in limbo.
Right. And because of that, they have their own highly specific operational vocabulary. The journey usually begins the moment you pull your car into the parking garage.
Right, the parking garage.
And as a quick linguistic note, if you find yourself traveling through the UK, you will likely see signs pointing to the car park.
Car park.
But in North American English, it is universally a parking garage.
Though, let's be honest, typically you aren't parking at all. You're begging a friend to brave the traffic to drop off you and your luggage at the curb.
So true. And if they are a truly exceptional friend, they will be there to pick up you when you return.
Very true. So drop off and pick up are the essential bookends of airport travel.
Definitely.
Once you leave the curb, you enter the terminal. This is that massive central structure where all the logistical sorting happens. And the first thing you're confronted with is the giant digital screens.
The anxiety-inducing screens.
Yes. You have the arrivals board, which is tracking the flights coming into the city.
Right.
And the departures board, displaying the flights leaving. The departures board is really where your fate is decided.
It really is.
You're desperately hoping to see the status listed as on time, but you're constantly bracing for delayed, meaning the schedule has been pushed back.
Or the absolute nightmare scenario canceled.
Ugh, The worst word in the English language at that moment.
Truly, though if you cut it too close on time, you might see boarding, which is the universal signal to start sprinting.
But sprinting is impossible if you're hauling heavy bags, which brings us to the logistics of luggage.
Right, luggage.
There are three distinct categories you have to navigate. First are the checked bags, or suitcases.
These are the large items that go into the cargo hold underneath the plane.
Right, and you relinquish control of these at the baggage drop-off counter.
Relinquishing control is exactly what it feels like.
It really does. Checking a bag feels incredibly similar to dropping a kid off at daycare for the first time.
Oh, that's hilarious.
No, seriously. You hand this precious cargo over to a stranger, it disappears down a dark, mysterious conveyor belt, and you just walk away crossing your fingers, hoping beyond hope that you will be reunited safe and sound at the baggage claim in a completely different time zone.
The daycare analogy is surprisingly accurate,
Mm.
especially considering the relief people feel at the baggage claim carousel when they finally spot their suitcase circling around.
It's pure joy.
Now, the luggage you do not surrender falls into two smaller categories.
Okay, what are those?
Your carry-on is typically a small rolling suitcase designed to fit in the overhead bin above your seat.
Right.
And your personal item is even smaller. That's a backpack, a purse, or a laptop bag that must fit under the seat in front of you.
Okay, so my bags are dropped off, my boarding pass is in hand. The next major hurdle is security.
The fun part?
Right. And this brings up a structural question for me. Why is the phrasing always that we go through security? Like, we don't say we walk past it or visit it, it's always through.
That preposition is actually very intentional.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, through implies a physical and procedural barrier. Security is not a passive location, it is an active screening environment.
Right, okay.
Your belongings go through an X-ray scanner, and your physical body must walk through a metal detector or a millimeter wave scanner. It is a tunnel of compliance.
A tunnel of compliance, wow.
You must successfully navigate the entire gauntlet to emerge into the sterile area of the terminal.
You're penetrating a fortress. That makes perfect sense.
Exactly.
So once you're successfully through, the final step is locating your gate. The gate is the specific designated door where you will finally board the aircraft.
And hours later, when the journey ends, you will deplane.
Deplane, though occasionally you'll hear someone use the much older kind of nautical term and say they're going to disembark.
Yeah, disembark definitely carries a bit of a maritime early 20th century flavor. Deplane is the standard operational term you will hear from modern flight attendants.
Good to know. Now, traveling through an airport is a temporary transition. You always know you're going back home eventually.
Usually. Yes.
But there are transitions that permanently alter the trajectory of your life. And that brings us to an incredibly moving personal essay from our sources today, which details the emotional turbulence of crossing the first threshold.
Which is moving into your very first independent apartment.
Exactly.
The concept of the first threshold is culturally significant, and this essay beautifully articulates the extreme duality of that experience.
The duality, yeah. Because on one side, there is this intoxicating excitement of finally leaving a cramped college dorm.
Well, it's the best feeling.
You're escaping curfews, shared communal bathrooms, and the constant oversight of residence advisors. Total freedom. But that euphoria immediately collides with the harsh administrative reality of navigating rental markets.
Oh, the rental apps alone are a masterclass in deception.
They really are. The author details the agonizing process of scrolling through listings with perfectly staged, brightly lit photos, only to arrive for an in-person viewing and discover a narrow, windowless room that literally smells like old carpets. It's so disappointing. And then there's the financial vocabulary designed to basically drain your bank account.
The hidden fees.
Right. Suddenly, the advertised rent is irrelevant because you are hit with a property management fee, a service fee, and an application fee.
Understanding that specific financial vocabulary is absolutely crucial for self-protection.
Definitely. The essay even highlights the danger of near scams.
Like what?
Like where fraudulent landlords demand a security deposit before they're even willing to unlock the door to show the room.
That's a huge red flag.
Right. And recognizing those red flags requires a very specific linguistic awareness.
But you know, after all the rejected applications and near scams, the breakthrough finally happens for the author.
The moment of triumph.
Yeah. They walk into this small room, and it's just different. The lighting is warm, the windows face a green belt, and when they open the glass, they can physically smell the plants outside.
It's that visceral, sensory moment of realization, this is my home. Exactly. And notice the shift in action once that realization hits. The vocabulary becomes highly practical.
Right. The author takes agency by inspecting the room.
Running the water to check the pressure, testing the electrical appliances.
Then comes the formal commitment of signing the lease contract with the landlord.
Right.
This involves negotiating the deposits and determining the utility splits.
Utility splits, which is the mathematical agreement among roommates on how to divide the monthly costs for electricity, water, and internet.
Exactly.
But the real emotional climax of the essay happens on the very first night.
Yeah, this part got to me.
Me too. All the boxes are unpacked. The author has spent hours decorating, putting up posters, arranging their plants, making the space entirely their own.
A huge accomplishment.
Right. And then they sit on the bed, look around, and just burst into tears.
Yeah. Big emotional drop.
The absolute silence of the apartment is deafening. There's no chaotic laughter from college roommates down the hall. It is pure, unfiltered independence, and it's profoundly lonely.
It's the moment the reality of the threshold sets in. There is no one else coming to manage the environment.
No one.
And that emotional isolation is immediately tested by practical failures.
Right, like the essay describes a leaky faucet dripping relentlessly into the sink, followed suddenly by a complete power outage.
Oh, talk about bad timing.
Seriously.
Yeah.
The author is standing in a pitch-black room, clutching a phone flashlight, realizing that if the breaker needs to be flipped, they are the only person who can do it.
That imagery of standing alone in the dark really strikes a chord. It's terrifying, but it's also a profound catalyst for growth.
It really is. And looking at that scenario, figuring out a power outage in a new apartment without any help, how does that map onto the experience of learning a language? Because the parallels feel incredibly strong here.
Oh, the psychological architecture of both experiences is identical.
Really? Tell me more about that.
Think about it. When you first start learning English in a classroom, you are in the college dorm. It's a controlled environment. Your teacher is the resident advisor guiding you, and your textbook provides the rules.
Right. It's safe.
But the moment you step out into the real world to speak with a native speaker, you are crossing that threshold.
Yeah.
You leave the safety net behind.
Oh, wow. That's so true.
And when you are mid-sentence and suddenly realize you don't know the vocabulary words you need, it feels exactly like a sudden power outage.
The lights go out.
Exactly. The lights go out. You are fumbling in the dark. You can't call your teacher. You have to rely on yourself, use context clues, gesture, or find an alternate phrasing to flip the breaker and turn the lights back on.
I love that.
It is an exercise in productive struggle.
Productive struggle. I love that phrasing. You have to endure the darkness to learn how to find the switch.
Precisely.
And a massive part of finding that switch, whether you're negotiating a complex lease with a new landlord or just trying to navigate a team meeting where everyone disagrees on the project timeline, is knowing how to express your true opinions without causing a disaster. Which brings us to our final focus today, finding your voice and asserting your perspective in English.
Asserting an opinion is universally daunting for language learners, mostly because the social stakes are high.
You want to be understood, but you don't want to cause offense.
Exactly. Let's examine the subtle differences in introductory phrasing. So the classic phrase taught in every curriculum is, in my opinion.
In my opinion.
Now, in my opinion is grammatically flawless, incredibly clear, but it carries a significant amount of formal weight.
It feels very rigid. Like, if I sit down to lunch and say, in my opinion, we should order tacos, it sounds like I am presenting a legal argument to a judge.
Yeah, it creates a formal distance. The much more natural, native alternative is, I feel like. Yeah, I feel like we should get tacos. By using feel, you are softening the assertion. You are sharing an internal state rather than declaring an objective, hard fact.
Let me challenge that slightly, though, especially in a professional context. If I am sitting in a high-stakes board meeting and I constantly preface my analysis with, I feel like our marketing strategy is failing, won't my colleagues perceive me as lacking confidence?
It's a valid concern.
Doesn't feeling imply that I don't actually have the data to back up my claim?
That is a very common and highly logical concern, but organizational psychology actually points to the opposite effect.
Really?
Yeah. I feel like, operates as a tool of psychological safety.
Psychological safety.
When you state something as a hard, undeniable fact, human nature dictates that the listener will immediately become defensive and look for ways to prove you wrong.
Right, they want to push back.
Exactly. By saying, I feel like, you lower their defenses.
Yeah.
You're presenting your perspective without backing them into a corner. It invites them to collaborate rather than combat.
Oh, wow.
It is a highly sophisticated strategy for maintaining a cool temperature in the room.
That completely flips the script for me. It isn't a sign of weakness. It's a mechanism to disarm defensiveness. But what happens when you genuinely need to deliver difficult feedback? You need to be direct, but you want to avoid sounding harsh, meaning overly aggressive or rude.
The recommended signal phrase here is to be honest.
To be honest.
Yeah, to be honest functions as an emotional buffer. It signals to the listener that the social pleasantries are being paused and a moment of vulnerability or unfiltered truth is coming.
Okay.
Like, to be honest, I don't think this budget is realistic. It warns the listener to brace themselves, which significantly softens the impact of the critique.
And what's brilliant is that it works as a multiplier for positive statements, too.
Oh, completely.
It makes a compliment feel so much more genuine and authentic. Like if you say, to be honest, your presentation completely changed my perspective, it feels like you're letting them in on a closely guarded secret. It really elevates the praise.
It does. Now, navigating agreement is pretty straightforward.
Mm.
If you align with someone's thoughts, you can just say, I totally agree.
Right.
If you want to express absolute uncompromising alignment, the phrase is, I couldn't agree more.
I couldn't agree more.
You are literally stating that your capacity for agreement has reached its physical limit.
The friction arises when you have to disagree, though. Telling a colleague, you are wrong, is a pretty great way to ruin a working relationship.
Definitely don't do that.
If you want a gentle pushback, you can say, I'm not sure about that. It introduces doubt without introducing conflict.
Right.
But the absolute gold standard for polite disagreement is what is often called the magic phrase. And that phrase is, I see what you mean, but...
The mechanics of this phrase are brilliant. It is a textbook execution of the sandwich method of communication.
The sandwich method? I love that.
The first half, I see what you mean, is the top piece of bread. It provides immediate validation. You are telling the person, I have heard you, I respect your logic, and your voice matters.
Right.
Once they feel validated, their defenses drop. Then, the word but allows you to slide in the meat of the sandwich, your contradictory opinion.
I see what you mean, but I feel like we need to extend the deadline. It is impossibly smooth. It completely removes the hostility from a disagreement.
It really does.
And if you find yourself in a scenario where you want to, concede the argument without fully changing your mind, you can find the middle ground by saying, you have a point.
Or, if the environment is highly casual, simply, fair enough.
Fair is?
Fair enough is an excellent tool for conversational de-escalation. It translates roughly to, I accept your logic, and I am choosing not to argue further.
It's very clean.
Another incredibly powerful phrase, particularly if you want to demonstrate flexibility during a job interview, is,
It depends.
oh, that's the ultimate professional answer.
It really is.
Like, do you prefer leading a team or working independently? Well, it depends on the scope of the project.
Perfect.
It instantly makes you sound like a thoughtful, nuanced professional who understands that context matters.
Exactly.
And lastly, if you want to invite connection and ask someone else for their perspective, you use the phrase, how do you feel about it?
Right. Opening the floor to them. For example, tackling the most divisive question of our generation. How do you feel about pineapple on pizza?
Oh boy. A question that has famously ended friendships.
Truly a dangerous inquiry.
Yeah.
So let's take a step back and survey the landscape we've covered today.
We covered a lot.
We started by diagnosing the cognitive mismatch of our automated mornings and explored how park lunches and finish rituals help us reclaim our humanity from the robot routine.
Closing those tabs.
Yes, closing the tabs. Then we decoded the highly procedural, liminal language of the airport terminal. We walked through the anxiety, the hidden fees, and the profound, productive struggle of crossing the first threshold into independent living.
The power outage.
The power outage, exactly. And finally, we dissected the exact phrases you need to navigate the psychology of professional communication, ensuring your voice is heard without raising the temperature of the room.
It is a massive spectrum of the human experience, but the underlying mechanism remains consistent. Mastering English is not about achieving perfect syntax. It's about equipping yourself with the precise tools needed to navigate the reality of your daily life.
And that is where we turn the spotlight over to you, the listener. We want you to take agency over your routine.
What's one small change you're going to make?
Right. What is one microscopic change you are going to implement tomorrow morning? Are you going to stretch your legs at 3 p.m. to fight the circadian dip?
Or perhaps you can practice your newfound phrasing and tell us, How do you feel about pineapple on pizza?
Yes, let us know, because at the end of the day, your willingness to connect matters infinitely more than your grammar.
And that leaves us with a truly compelling philosophical question to ponder.
Ooh, what is it?
Well, we spend a lot of time analyzing the magic phrase. I see what you mean, but we know it changes how other people react to us. But if the language we habitually use actually structures our internal reality, does constantly using a polite, empathetic phrase like that fundamentally change our own neurology?
Wow.
Does the act of speaking a gentler, more validating form of English actually wire our brains to become genuinely more open-minded and empathetic people over time?
That is an incredible concept to chew on. Does the language we deploy actively rewire our character? I think the answer might be yes.
I think so too.
Well, that is all the time we have for this session. Remember that your perspective is valuable, and the friction of learning is just a sign of growth.
Absolutely.
Don't let the fear of a sudden power outage stop you from finding the switch. Step away from the screen, close those 50 tabs running in your mind, and have a beautifully intentional, non-robot day. We will catch